Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel once again, and for today's video I'm going to share my first team in the Fantasy Cup, which is going to be the Ultra League format that allows only steel, fairies and dragons over here, and with a ban of Galarian Stunfisk, which is for good because Galarian Stunfisk can handle both steel, like all these typing steel, fairies and dragon as well. So that is the reason it is banned, which is really nice. And for the team that I'm going to use for my first Fantasy Cup team in season 15, which is going to be Registeel along with Slurpuff and G.Weezing. So Registeel over here is going to be my lead, which is going to be the anchor over here, because my backline is going to be double fairy, which is really good. And since it's a double fairy line, I want to put across to that poison type moves, a poison type that is well covered by Registeel, which is really good. And since again my backline is double fairy, it really does have a good opportunity against steel types, because both of them is having a fire type move. Alongside, it is also good against dragon because both of them is having access to play rough as well, which is going to be really nice. And apart from that, G.Weezing and Slurpuff both are excelled, which is quite bulky, and that is the reason this is how the team works. So Slurpuff or maybe G.Weezing might be the anchor to safe swap out, and that is the third process that I had. So moving into the first battle, I pick up a lead against this is going to be Tapu Fini over here, which is a really good lead. But Tapu Fini is going to really like not too much damage with the incoming surf, and now they came back in with their own Registeel. So since they came back with their Registeel, I will be staying in this matchup because I was quite ahead on energy, and that's how I can go for the first focus blast that lands, and I'll be going for the next focus blast that gets the first shield from my opponent's end as well, which is huge because now I have to shield up once because my backline is not very flexible against that Tapu Fini, so I have to shield up this first incoming focus blast over here. Now I'll be going for my own, and since again I was ahead on energy, I can easily get the Registeel down with the next focus blast, and they again comes back with their own Tapu Fini over here as well, which ends up being a CMP tie onto a Zap Cannon and Surf. So Surf does not knock me out, I can easily survive that, and I'll be going for the next Zap Cannon to take this Tapu Fini out, but it does not, which is I am fine with. And the final Pokemon that they have access to is going to be Giratina Origin over here, so that will be having access to Shadow Ball, which I correctly shield up, and now I will be going for the next Play Rough, which does enough damage to take it out, so that they have to shield this up. And now with this kind of range, I think I can survive one Shadow Ball because yeah, it's a XL G.Weezing, and I can easily survive that, and I'll be going for the next Play Rough. And since Giratina Origin is kind of on the attack weighted side, it will be getting the knockout, and it comes back with their Tapu Fini, which water's gonna be down, and I'll be easily coming back with my Registeel, lock-oning them down and getting the win for the first battle here with this team and in the set. Moving on to the next battle, I pick up a lead against Escavalier, which is not a good lead because Escavalier does really good against my backline as well. And since they went for the first drill run, I thought of going for the first overheat, but now they safe swap out into their own G.Weezing, and they call the bait of Play Rough as well, which is not good because now I have to go for the next overheat that does so much amount of damage, but they will be eventually able to throw the next move, which ends up being a Brutal Swing that knocks me out, and I can come back. Or maybe I will wait out for the switch clock, and I'll be coming back with my own with my own Registeel once again. And since they had enough energy, they will be going for the next overheat as well, which does so much damage to this Registeel over here, doing like putting it back to his half health. To which now they comes back with their Escav once again, and I'll be going for the next Focus Blast that does draw out the first shield from my opponent's end, and now I'll be switching out into my final Pokemon, which is going to be a Slurpuff. So Slurpuff will take this incoming Acid Spray over here, which is fine, and now they caught the next Flamethrower onto their own altered Giratina over here. So this game is going from bad to worse over here. First catching the calling the player of onto the G.Weezing, and then catching the Flamethrower onto a altered Giratina, which is not great because now I have to shield up the next Shadow Sneak because it will put me quite low, and I cannot farm this altered Giratina down with a Fairy Wind. So I have to go for a bit of extra energy, and I'll be switching out into my own Registeel, but now they can farm up quite a bit of extra energy as well. So they will be going for the next Drill Run over here, which does take my Registeel out, and I do not have enough energy to go for back-to-back Flamethrowers over here. Rather, they will be going for the next Acid Spray that does take my Slurpuff out, and that is going to be a good game to my opponent. Really well played. Moving on to the next matchup, I pick up a lead against Dragonite over here. So Dragonite with Superpower is again a kind of threat as well to my Registeel, but they will be going for the first Shadow Claw, beg your pardon, Dragon Claw, which does not even do a tickle to my Registeel, which is excelled as well. So I'll be going for the next Zap Cannon, which does so much damage to this Dragonite as well. So Dragonite, so since I thought it might be a superpower, so I end up shielding that, and now I'll be switching out into my own Slurpuff over here. So Slurpuff, having access to Flamethrower, is having a really good matchup against this Escav over here, which my opponent switch out into, which is not great because Escav is not a good answer to Fairy, while the Fairy is having access to Fire type move. Maybe it's a G.Weezing or maybe a Slurpuff as well. So I'll be going for the next Flamethrower that does get the final shield from my opponent's end as well, and now from this kind of range I think of shielding that up, which I did, and now I'll be going for the next Flamethrower that guarantees the knockout for the Escav, and they have to come back with their final Pokemon, which ends up being a Tapu Fini over here, and they'll be going for a good hefty farm over here, but nevertheless they caught a move onto their Dragonite, which I'm fine with because now I can easily come back with my own G.Weezing, resisting those high damage move of Moonblast. So they'll be going for the Surf, which does not do too much damage, so that is the reason I will be going for the neutral damage of Play Rough on the first move, and then I'll be sniping it down with a Zap Cannon from a Registeel that will be doing enough damage to take out this Tapu Fini and giving me the win for the third battle here as well with this team in the Fantasy Cup. So GG's. Moving on to the next battle, I pick up a lead against Altered Giratina, which is not a great lead for my own Registeel, and now I switch out into my Slurpuff, and again they switch out into their own Escav over here. So Escav is not actually a good answer to Slurpuff because it is not having a high damage poison move, and it does take to a double super active damage from this fire type moves as well, which is kind of rough for them as well because Slurpuff is kind of overpowered in this meta. To which now I'll be going for the shield, which ends up being an Acid Spray once again, and now I'll be going for a bit of extra energy, and I'll be going for the next Flamethrower, which does take it out, and they have to come back with their Altered Giratina, or maybe the final Pokemon, which ends up being a Fairy Wind Clefable over here, which is excelled, I believe. So I'll be going for the first Flamethrower, and from this kind of range they cannot farm me down with Fairy Wind, so they have to come back with their Giratina and take me down with their Shadow Claws over here. So I'll be coming back with my own uh, G.Weezing, because Registeel does have a superb matchup against the incoming final Clefable over here. So I'll be going for the first uh, play rough, which deals a good amount of damage, but it does not knock out healthy Giratina over here. So they have to go for the next move, which will put me low, but it is not enough to get the knockout for me as well. So I can farm them down with Fair Event, which they recognize, and top lifts the game over here out of respect. So GG's and well played. Moving into the next matchup, I pick up a lead against Magnezone over here, which is actually a good lead for me because I'll be resisting those mirror shot and wild charge as well, which I am happy with, but they have to shield up and respect my focus blast, because that will just one shot them from that kind of health as well. So I'll be going for the first focus blast, hoping it does not get shielded, but it does get shielded, which I am fine with. But now since I'm having 1 to 2 shield advantage, so I'll be going for the next move as well. So I'm trying to put out all the shields from my opponent's end so that my backline can really handle them well. So they went for the wild charge now, and from this kind of range I'm not sure if it is going to be enough to get the knockout with a mirror shot or not. So it does not knock me out, and I'm able to reach to the next focus blast just in time. That's how bulky and sheerly powerful Registeel is. It takes out both the shield, gets the knockout for the Magnezone, and now they comes back in with their Geomancy Xerneas over here, which is fine because Xerneas is also having access to a fighting move and a fairy move, which both are resisted by my own G.Weezing over here. So I'll be going for the first pair of as they come back with their own Reshiram over here, which I'm fine with. So Reshiram is having access to Crunch, Triacometeor and Stone Edge. So I will be looking out for the Stone Edge, which does do super active damage to me, not super active, neutral damage to me. So I will be putting up the shield, and now I'll be going for the next play rough that does take it out. And from this kind of range, I'll be going for the next overheat, which does do a hell lot of damage to a Xerneas as well. And now I can come back. I caught the next move onto my own Slurpuff, which ends up being a Moonblast, and it does to get the attack drop, but that is not going to be enough to stop my Slurpuff, and I get the knockout with Fair Event over here. So GG's. Moving into the next battle, I pick up a lead against Excadrill over here. So Excadrill is kind of tough for this team because my anchor and my lead is having a kind of tough time with Drill Run. So that is the reason I'll be letting the first Drill Run go through, and I'll be going for the next Focus Blast. So Focus Blast does guarantees the first shield from my opponent's end, and now from this kind of range I'm in really troublesome situations right now because will be letting this next Drill Run go through, but because I knew they had back to back. So now from this kind of range, this is where I did the mistake, because I let this next Drill Run go through, and this is not going to be Excadrill, because Excadrill is quite attack heavy, and unlike Escavalier, it is also getting the stab bonus on Drill Run as well. So it does hurt me a lot, to which now I'll be switching out into my own Slurpuff, and I will be going for the first shield, and I will be opting for the final shield as well, to which now the final Pokemon, the next Pokemon that they have access to apart from their Excadrill over here is going to be a Turtonator, which is, I believe, fully excelled, and it is very bulky as well, and it is having a unique typing as well. And I do go for a bit of extra energy, but nevertheless I will be going for the next play rough that does take it out, and the final Pokemon that they have access to is not worthy for me to stay in, so I switch out of respect, and GG's. Moving to the next matchup, I pick up a lead against I forgot the lead what it was, but now I'm having a matchup with Escavalier over here, to which I'll be going for the first Play Rough, which is a bait move, and it might cost me if they do not shield, but they luckily shield, and now I'll be going for the next Overheat in this scenario. So Overheat, if it lands, does take out the Escavalier, that's for sure. And I believe they will be now coming back with their final Pokemon. Yeah, it is going to be the Altered Giratina. So I believe Altered Giratina was there in the lead. That's why I switched out into my own G.Weezing, and they are forced to throw over here, which does not even take me out, and now I can easily come back with my own with my own Slurpuff, and I totally completely switch out this matchup over here because Registeel was there for the incoming Togekiss over here. So that will be all for this video, and see you again in the next one.